Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to the channel. So I want to make a video. I know my Vette's a little dirty. I want to make a video on 1 year ownership of the C6 Corvette. Now, I've owned this one for quite some time, but that's my wife's and I didn't daily drive it. But this one I've owned for 1 year since June of last year, and I've daily driven it just about every single day that I can, and never driven like my wife's car to work or anything like that. So I purchased this car in June of 2017, and right now it's late May of 2018. When I first purchased it, it had 105,000 miles on it. Now it has 130,000 miles on it. I just crushed 130,000 miles. That is 25,000 miles in 1 year. So the way I rack that up is that to and from work is over a 50-mile journey every day. So you do that 5 times a week, personal trips and all my drives, and so yeah, that can really add up. So in this video, I'm going to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything that's happened over the past year and what it really cost me to own it in the past year since I had it. So to jump right in, so the good, let's start with the good. The good is I transplanted the engine from LS2 to LS3 in the winter, like around Christmas time of 2017. So the LS2 that I had was originally in this car. I put it in that C5. The C5 had a cammed LS3, and I put it in here. So that wasn't really an expense that I really had to do because it was already done prior when I blew up the LS1 in that one. But for sake, if you want to add that in there, that was about $11,000 of how much that engine cost in the short term. So the next thing I want to cover, is I'm staying on the good topics right now. So the good thing is the engine I did was upgraded about 11K. The next one is the long tube headers with X pipe. So I got those from OBX, ordered from some Mickey Mouse site. That cost about 600 bucks plus another 100 to get the welding all done up for it. And for me, I think it's been a good, pretty good upgrade. And I would also like to add on top of that as well, probably about another 70 bucks to get the O2 sensor extensions. I got front and rear O2 sensor extensions, but I did end up deleting the rear cats, so they're not being read at all, but the extensions in there still hooked up. So moving into the next upgrade that I did that was good and didn't have to be done is the actual HUD. So as you can see it right there, works perfectly great and absolutely love it. That costs about $250. After that, the next upgrade I did was the first upgrade I did when I got the car, like days after I got it, as I changed out that old C6 dash like stereo and put in a JVC. That cost about $350, I suppose, but it works great. Touch screen, it connects to my Spotify, no problems with that at all. Moving on to the next upgrade that I did that I didn't really have to do was I installed track pads. You can't really see them, see a little bit of red there, but there are some Hawk racing track pads. They cost about $125. I really need them because of the way I've driven in all my videos. I just need the extra stopping power. Alright, so now moving on to things going downhill with the car since I've owned it. So the first incident that happened, and it cost me quite a bit, is, if y'all know, if you've seen my one video, is this glass top here. As you can see, it's cracked. The original one flew off because I forgot to latch it down. By the time I got the original back in my hands after picking up off the highway, it was mangled and destroyed. So I went on eBay, found one really quick, and it was already damaged, and I got it for 500 bucks. Brand new, it would have cost $1,500. For carbon fiber, it would cost over $2,000. So that's 500 bucks already I had to spend to get a replacement roof. Someday I'll get a better one to cover that up. Moving on to the next thing is, around in October of last year, I had to get new tires, like 5 or 6 months after ownership. I had to get new tires on the rear. So I moved from Nitto 345s up to Michelin Pilot Pilot Sport 4S's 325s, and these cost over 900 bucks just for the two rear ones. Fast forward to February of this year, or January this year, I have front ones that I had to replace. The originally were on there were Nitto as well, 275s in the front, but now I have Pirelli 255s. Now why you want to say the change is because I didn't want to pay 900 bucks for the rear, then another 800 or 900 bucks for the front. I didn't have that type of money, so these cost about 600 bucks to get those replaced. Yeah, so one thing that made me upset about that is I did not check the tires wear condition before I brought it, and trusted the dealer's word on it that they were brand new tires when they definitely weren't brand new tires, because they were already near bald at the 5 or 6 month mark. Moving on. So moving to the engine of mandatory changes I had to do is I had to do a new radiator in the front. So I didn't go with the stock one, which is a AC Delco unit. I went with a Denso, cost about $140 off of Rock Auto. The reason why I had to change it is because my original one had a slow leak on it, and it was only getting worse over time. Another thing I had to change is the actual battery. And that's just something standard that comes with the car, but I had to change it to 6 month mark because it wasn't holding the charge. That's about another $130 to $150 for another Super Start battery. And the last thing I'd like to cover that I had to pay for out of pocket that wasn't expected is at the rear, underneath the back where the transmission sits, is the shifter bushing that connects the shifter cable to the transmission actually broke in my driveway, and I actually have a video on that where I had to repair it in the street. That cost another $10 plus my time to get that fixed. So that kind of covers it for unforeseen costs that I had that I did not plan for my first year for the car. Now the next thing are things that were broken in the car that I did not know about and were rude awakenings and are still annoying to this day. So starting here in the car, so the first thing you normally do in the car, step on the brake and you start the car. So my first issue is you can't see it now, but you see it in multiple of my videos, is my gas gauge is broken and it constantly goes down to 0 when I'm driving it. And that's why I have a check engine light. Apparently the fuel sensor level is actually broken, and it just goes back and forth and bounces. So that's jacked up. See, up there it is, just bounced to 0. It says service fuel system. So that's a broken thing. Next thing I have that is messed up is, so after you start the car, you want to shift it into gear. But however, look at my shifter. It looks fine here, but if you touch it too hard, it falls apart. See all of this? It is barely being held on, and you know, this whole button comes off, and that's one thing that's jacked up on it as well. That even during my test drive, it didn't get messed up. So you gotta be really delicate with it and real easy on putting it back together, which I'm trying to do right now. And that's another thing that's jacked up here on the inside. So the next thing I'll cover on the inside are my visors. So no, I'm kind of close, but these are all broken. So I come over here, I look at this one first, and it's being held on by my visor clip, but look at that, it just freaking fell apart. So basically these hinges on here were already broken, or so close to be broken is that the person just left them up there, and that they're broken on both sides. And the best way to keep it on there until I buy new ones or come up with my solution is just have a clip, keep pressure on there so that it won't fall off. So on this one, I actually have double-sided, I have Velcro on here. So it can come off, but it's held on by Velcro. So I don't use a mirror a lot, but it's just one of the things you notice when you have to pull it down. Moving over to the passenger side, I have seat rips. See right here? I have these two seat rips that I did not notice. Now, maybe they weren't as big as before, but they definitely got big enough to where my wife pointed out, hey, you know your seat is ripped. But I have a good feeling that they didn't just happen that easily, and it's something that they were kind of already there. So that's it for the passenger seat. The driver's seat looks completely fine, just heavily worn out, but that we expect at a car with so many miles. So moving on to the body, these are some damage I noticed on the body panels. You see those surface cracks? I actually have the same thing on the driver's side. So see right here, can you see it? So these panels, these wide body Z06 rear quarter panels are aftermarket, and so I guess whoever's installed them, you know, that's just kind of, you know, what happened with them, and those were already there, weren't things I already had on there. Some other things that some other notable mentions of bad things that have happened in a car that aren't so critical to me because it's a daily driver is this huge nick right here. That is really, really bad, and it just happened within the last month or two. Way down through the fiberglass. It's pretty bad. That's happened to it. Numerous paint chips over the front bumper has also happened. We also have intermittent low coolant or low oil lights on the dash, but it's very intermittent. Not too much of an issue, but I also have a lot of oil burn off, so I do pay attention to that light because of the modified LS3 causes high oil burn off. The last thing I would say is that I was having issues with my power steering pump fluid and it constantly leaking out. I think I've somewhat solved that because it doesn't leak out anymore. If it does, it's very, very little because right now it's still full. And that's the last thing I can think of on my C6 Corvette of what it's been like over the 1 year of daily driving it with so many miles and all the issues that I've had. So hopefully another 30K and 25K, 30K in miles comes very easily to the car, and I hope this you know, this gives you great insight to what it's like to own a Corvette for 1 year, kind of like on maintenance costs. If you wanted to add everything up, not including the engine, you're coming at about $3,216 of what I've paid on the car for things I did not expect to pay for. Biggest things being the tires as the main costing point. So with that being said, I would like to thank you guys for watching this entire video. If you haven't been to the channel before, please like, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.